The Honourable Justice Wakiaga, I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by not finding that the issue that was to be decided by the court was as to whether the applicant had, by writing to the Honourable Chief Magistrate, Nyeri Law Court, instituted criminal proceedings against the suspects named in the complaint in writing. The Honourable Justice James Wakiaga, I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by not recognizing that the victim of the crime was caught in a no man's land between the police and the Director of Public Prosecutions. Justice James Wakiaga, I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by understanding the Director of Public Prosecutions' constitutional duty as a right to the incumbent and not as a right of service for the public. Justice James Wakiaga, I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by not distinguishing between A, the institution of criminal proceedings, and B, the conduct of proceedings in an instituted case as two distinct parts of the prosecution continuum. Justice James Wakiaga, I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by not recognizing the order of events between A, the institution of proceedings, and B, the trail as used in the prosecution continuum. 6. Justice James Wakiaga, I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by not recognizing that Section 88 of the Criminal Procedure Code addresses itself to the trail in instituted proceedings. Justice James Wakiaga, I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by finding that, I quote, the issue to my mind for determination in this application, therefore, is as to whether a private citizen, without intending to prosecute privately, can present charge before the magistrate under Section 88 of the CPC. End of quote. Number 8. Justice James Wakiaga, I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by stating that, I quote, it is therefore clear that Section 89 of CPC only deals with the making of complaints and institution of proceedings. And my read of the same, together with Section 88, is that it is only provided for where the private citizen wants to institute private prosecution. End of quote. Number 9. Justice James Wakiaga, I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by not recognizing that Section 3, subsection 1 of the Criminal Procedure Code states that, and I quote, all offenses under the Penal Code shall be inquired into, tried, and otherwise dealt with according to the Criminal Procedure Code. Number 10, Justice James Wakiaga. I find you guilty in law and fact by not recognizing that as per Section 89 of the Criminal Procedure Code, no one is required to seek leave before instituting criminal proceedings. Number 11, Justice James Wakiaga. I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by not recognizing that as per Section 89 of the Criminal Procedure Code, no one is required to be permitted to institute criminal proceedings. Number 12, Justice James Wakiaga. I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by suggesting that there could be another procedure in law to guide the Criminal Procedure Code, Cap 75 of the laws of Kenya. Justice James Wakiaga. I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by not addressing yourself to Section 89(2) of the Criminal Procedure Code, which made the crux of the application. Number 15, Justice James Wakiaga. I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by not finding that Section 89(1), 2, and 3 of the Criminal Procedure Code is explicit. 16, Justice James Wakiaga. I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by not indicating how the plain and common understanding of the text of Section 89, subsection 1, subsection 2, and subsection 3 of the Criminal Procedure Code could be in conflict with any written law. Number 17, Justice James Wakiaga. I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by not realizing that greater justice could have been served by the application of the plain and common understanding of the text of Section 89 of the Criminal Procedure Code. (18) Justice James Wakiaga. I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by not recognizing the avenue for justice that the plain and common understanding of the text of Section 89 of the Criminal Procedure Code opens for suspect crimes by members of the police service, the Office of the Directorate of Public Prosecutions, and other state functionaries. 19. Justice James Wakiaga. I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by discriminating against the applicant from the benefits of the clear law that is Section 89 of the Criminal Procedure Code. 20. Justice James Wakiaga. I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by not ordering the Honourable Chief Magistrate Wilbroda Juma to sign the complaint in writing in the manner of Section 89(1), 2, and 3 of the Criminal Procedure Code. 21. Justice James Wakiaga. I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by not recognizing that there is no mention or implication of private prosecution or proceedings in Section 89 of the Criminal Procedure Code. 22. Justice James Wakiaga, I find you guilty in failing in law and fact by not recognizing that there is no mention or implication of private institution or proceedings in Section 88 of the Criminal Procedure Code. 23. Justice James Wakiaga, I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by finding that Section 88 of the Criminal Procedure Code refers to private prosecution. Number 24. Justice James Wakiaga, I find you guilty of failing in law and fact by not recognizing that in Section 88 of the Criminal Procedure Code, the onus is on the magistrate to permit the prosecution to be conducted by any other person other than the Director of Public Prosecutions.